Which is the only continent without native mammals? Which city is known as Pearl of the Orient? Which country was formerly known as Persia? Which lake lies between Israel and Jordan? Which is the longest mountain range on Earth? Which city hosted the first modern Olympic Games? Which country has the world's oldest monarchy? Which sea has the highest salinity? Which continent is both driest and coldest? Which mountain is sacred in Japan? Which African river flows through Congo Basin? Which island is largest in the Mediterranean Sea? Which ocean is deepest overall? Which country has the world's oldest parliament? Which city was formerly called Byzantium? Which is the longest river in Europe? Which country uses the currency ringgit? Which country is largest in South America? Which sea separates Europe from Africa? Which mountain lies between France and Spain? Which country has a city named Timbuktu? Which country invented paper? Which river flows through Paris? Which country is home to the Great Barrier Reef? Which city is the highest capital in the world? Which island is largest in the Caribbean Sea? Which country has most official languages worldwide? Which river is longest in North America? Which country was first to recognize USA independence? Which sea is between Italy and Balkan Peninsula? Which country borders both Atlantic and Pacific Oceans? Which African nation has a city named Alexandria? Which is smallest ocean by area? Which city lies on River Thames? Which country has maple leaf on its flag? Which continent is largest by area? Which mountain range runs along India-China border? Which ocean surrounds island nation of Sri Lanka? Which city is capital of South Korea? Which desert is located in northern China and Mongolia? Which African island nation lies east of Madagascar? Which country is home to Mount Kilimanjaro? Which river flows through Grand Canyon? Which European country has city called Innsbruck? Which is largest lake in Africa? Which strait separates Europe and Africa? Which country invented the compass? Which is highest waterfall in the world? Which Asian river is known as Sorrow of China? Which city hosted 2008 Summer Olympics?